Bonjour, everyone. Welcome. I'm joining you live from Vancouver, BC, Canada, to host our first international Zoom webinar, Étude de Paris Violin Masterclass. My name is Anna Vavilova. I'm a pianist and director of World of Music and Arts, and it is my absolute pleasure to co-host today's event. And I want to introduce to you the organizer, master teacher, and violinist of this event, Alvin Tran. And I will be also introducing to you our main featured main artist of this event, Audrey Sproule. She's joining us all the way from Paris, France. And most importantly, our 5 super nervous, but I hope super excited students who Audrey are going to be teaching today. I'm so extremely excited to have this opportunity for our students. And also we are live streaming this event on our YouTube. If you'd like to join us there, you're welcome. So without further ado, I'm switching over to Alvin. Welcome and enjoy today's event.
Thank you, Anna. My name is Alvin Tran, and I am a violinist and violin teacher here based in Vancouver, British Columbia. So when the pandemic started, we had to move all of our lessons online and mostly through Zoom. And we learned a lot. It was a lot of growing pains. And then as a new school year started, I kind of started thinking, well, normally we would have group studio classes in person. And unfortunately, that's not possible right now. So I moved everything online onto Zoom. We've had 2 group studio classes, and it's really great for the students to hear each other play and also to give some comments and some critique. Everyone, I think, learns a lot by watching their peers perform. And then I was thinking, well, why am I thinking this is a bad situation? We could actually think about the positives. And one of the positives is that now I can invite any of my friends from around the world to join and to co-teach some of my students. So I'm so privileged to have my good friend Audrey and colleague Audrey Sproule coming from Paris, and it's about 11 p.m. I think over there. So Audrey and I met at McGill University when we were doing our undergraduate degrees. And we continue to perform a lot together. We are actually both founding members of the Crimson String Quartet, where we normally tour Western Canada every summer. We were very sad to have to cancel our 2020 tour due to the pandemic, but I'm hoping that we can see each other in person soon. She also went to Cleveland Institute of Music after her undergrad. So she got her master's there, and she just recently, I believe, graduated with her master's in violin pedagogy from the Conservatoire de Paris. So excellent, very, very well trained, and lots of experience in teaching and performing. She performs with many groups around the Paris region. So can everyone please give me a warm welcome for our guest teacher, Audrey Sproule. Hi, Audrey.
Hi, thanks a lot, Alvin, and thank you, Anna. I'm really delighted to be here today for your inaugural Zoom webinar masterclass. It's, as you very well said, very well put, Alvin. It's quite amazing that we can collaborate with a 9-hour time difference and co-teach together. I'm really delighted to be here today and hear your students. So a big thank you to the World of Music and Art School in BC. And as has been mentioned, I'm a Canadian violinist and violin teacher. I've studied in Canada, the US, and most recently in France. And I also have a full-time teaching studio at the Conservatoire de Bagnolet. And I'm live from Paris this evening. So I'm really delighted to be spending my Sunday with you guys. So without further ado, shall we get started with Eddie?
For sure. So I'll be playing Eddie's performance of Minuet Number 1, and then after that, Audrey will begin her teaching.
Thank you very much, Eddie. And is Eddie? Oh, there you are. Yes. Okay, I'm going to. Bravo. Okay, there you are. Eddie, yes, I can see you now. Thank you very much for your performance. So just to get started, I'd like to ask you a few questions. How old are you, Eddie?
7.5.
And how long have you been playing the violin for?
1 year.
1 year. Bravo. So a really great start at the violin, Eddie. I'm really proud of how you played well, in your video, I was going to say today, but very beautiful recording of Minuet number 1 by J.S. Bach. So, do you know what's a minuet?
A dance.
Exactly. A minuet is a dance. And have you ever watched a video of somebody dance a minuet? Or perhaps you've tried to dance a minuet yourself? No?
Yeah.
Well, yes, you have. Well, that's pretty impressive because the minuet is a very old dance that used to be danced hundreds of years ago. And we're so lucky to still have these minuets to play today. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about the dance of the minuet because I think you're doing a lot of great things already. You've got a beautiful setup. You're holding your bow very nicely, and your left hand is very well placed, and your violin is well positioned. So bravo to you and to your teacher, Alvin, for all of the hard work you've already done in just over a year of studying. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the musical aspect. So this is a dance, and do you know what the time signature of this dance is? What time signature are we in? You can look at your music if you don't have it in front of you. Is it a dance in 4/4 time or in 3/4 time?
3/4 time.
It's in 3/4 time. That's right. So in 3/4 time, do you know where the strong beat is? Because I was going to say parce que. I'm a little rusty teaching in English these days. Yes, in 3/4 time, the first beat is the strongest beat. That's where the dancers would do a strong impulse with their feet. And sometimes when I'm teaching minuets, I like to help my students feel that dance by kind of dancing themselves. So maybe to start, and I encourage all of you who are listening out there who've maybe played a minuet or might be playing a minuet soon, to stand up, and we're going to try and just dance a bit of the minuet together before we get our violins back. Does that sound good to you, Eddie? So I'm not an expert in Baroque dance, but I do know that a minuet, as we said, is in 3/4 time. So perhaps you could start off just by stepping in place so we can still see each other. And we're going to count out loud. So I'm going to take a turn, and after you'll take a turn, counting in 3/4 time. So let's go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. How about you give it a try now?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good. And are your feet moving too? Get your knees nice and high. Really feel the dance. Let's try it again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Good. Very good. Now, a lot of pedagogical techniques in France, where I'm currently speaking to you from, are based around singing. So I'm wondering, have you ever sung your minuet out loud?
No.
Well, let's give it a try. So I'd like you to start dancing on your minuet again. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to sing it. Well, you're going to sing it out loud for me. So I'll give you an example, and then I'd like for you to try. And after, we'll take your violin back, okay? So 1, 2, 3. La, 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 la. How about you try it now? It's okay. No, it's not important if you sing beautifully like an opera singer. We just want you to feel the music by singing the music. So give it a try.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, not bad at all. Let's try it again, and maybe you could say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Try it again, and then we'll bring our violin back into the mix.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Excellent. Good job. I'm sure everybody's really applauding you for your courage to sing and try something new. And I really liked how you now are lining up the one that you're singing with the beginning of the measure. Let's take our violins back now, and I'd like for you to make that one beat of the measure the most beautiful and the most important, just like when we were dancing, putting an extra bit of an accent on that to emphasize the dance-like quality of this minuet. So let's try playing the A part, the A section. So the first two lines, thinking about putting a bit more dance in this minuet by emphasizing the first beat. And it starts with a D, 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 D. Yes. Lovely. And to finish off this work on the dance-like quality before we move on to the other thing I'd like to work on with you today, would you mind trying walking or dancing on the beat as you play? So now we're stepping as, yes, okay, let's try it. Same part, and you're going to maybe give yourself one measure where you're just getting your feet going. And I encourage everybody at home to try this as well. Let's all dance along to the beautiful music played by Eddie in this minuet number 1. Let's try it. So get your feet going first, Eddie. Oh, nice. Perfect. Okay, let's go. Whenever you're ready. Bravo. Thank you. So everybody at home, I would like to point out how much more rhythmically stable and fluid Eddie's minuet was when he incorporated some, incorporated in the proper sense of the word, made the music or felt the music throughout his body, through dance, through movement. That was a lot more steady. So good job. It was kind of like you were turning your feet into a metronome, and that worked really well. Good job. Maybe you've already tried this at home with Alvin in your lessons, but you can continue practicing like that in this minuet and in future minuets. So just one other thing I'd like to talk about before we move on to the next student. Eddie, do you have your music in front of you?
No.
No? Okay, well then I'll play to you where I'd like for us to start from again. It's in the B section, and it's right here. Could we play from here and continue on to the next part? And I'll say thank you when I'd like for you to stop. I'm going to center in on one particular measure. Oh, sorry, Eddie. We're starting. Could we start back where I played from? Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eddie. So yes, the part that I'd like to speak about is Ré, Do, Si, La, Si, Do, Sol, Do, the C in the measure 19. Can you find measure 19?
9.
For you and for our viewers at home? It's right here.
Oh.
Yes. So I have a pop quiz for you. Do you know if this is a C sharp or a C natural?
C natural.
It is a C natural. And I'm glad that you were able to point that out because 2 measures earlier, in measure 17, you played the most beautiful C natural. And I'd like to find that same C natural 2 measures later because when we're listening to it, I'm not sure if it's a C natural and a C sharp. And Bach does such a beautiful job here of using the movement between C sharp and C natural. I'd really like you to bring that out. Make it very clear for our ear. Is it C sharp or C natural when you're playing? Can we try it again from the same spot? So measure 13. La, do, si, la, do, fa. Bravo. Very good. That really makes it a lot more special, this line of C naturals. And then when the C, it kind of brings us back to the beginning. It's our transition back to the first part. So, Eddie, do you have any questions before we let you play it one last time? No? So just for our viewers at home, can we do a little recap of what we talked about today in our mini lesson together? So what was one practice technique at the beginning that we used to make it more dance-like and fluid?
I used our feet up to move around.
Yes, walking on the beat. And what do we really want to make sure of in the second last line when the beginning comes back again?
The C had to be a C natural.
Yes, and we're really going to exaggerate that to make it sound very clear for the listener. Okay, so I think we have time to hear the minuet one more time. So now you can just go back to playing it as normal, trying to make it as dance-like as possible. And then we'll move on to the next violinist. Bravo. I'm going to clap for you, and I'm sure everybody's clapping at home. Very nice job, Eddie. Do you have any more questions before we move on?
No.
Okay. Good job.
Thanks, Eddie. That was really good. And thank you so much, Audrey. Those were some really great ideas. And just one thing I forgot to mention, if you guys have any questions, there is a Q&A button at the very bottom. And at the end, we'll save a little bit of time for me to ask Audrey any of your questions about violin technique, about teaching the violin, about performing, or any other thing that you're interested in. All right, so without further ado, our next performer will be Geneve, and she is playing Gavotte in G minor, also by Bach.
Thank you, Geneve. Hello. Hello from France. Bravo. Okay, thank you very much. So, how old are you, Geneve?
I am 9 years old.
And how long have you been playing the violin for?
3 years.
3 years. Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. So, as I was listening to you, I was particularly impressed by your good execution of this tough key. G minor is not an easy key to play, and especially for beginning violinists. So good job with all of the flats. And also, I wanted to applaud you for your beautiful vibrato. It's working really well already. So good job. I can tell you've really been working hard on that. And when you use your vibrato, it really adds a nice touch to the ends of the phrases. So there's one thing in particular that I'd like to focus on, one part of our amazing instrument. I'd like to focus on the bow. So if you have your bow, let's grab our bows. Great, Geneve has hers, and anybody at home, you're welcome to grab your bow and join us in this exercise, or if you don't have a bow, a crayon or a pencil works well too. So let's grab our bows and let's just talk a little bit about the bow tilt. Geneve, tell me what you know about the bow tilt already, because I'm sure you've talked about that with your teacher. For those who might not know what I mean, it's the angle of the hair on the string in relationship to the bridge. So Geneve, what do you know about bow tilt?
It should be flat.
It should be flat. Or if we're going to tilt one way, probably a little bit of hair towards the bridge. So we're wanting to avoid the hair going away from the bridge. The reason for that is because the bridge of the violin, along with the sound post, which is inside, kind of act like a speaker for the sound of the violin to be amplified and make it louder to play in concert halls and well, so that our audiences can hear what we're playing. So the bow tilting towards the bridge or a flat hair helps the sound go towards the vibrations of the string, go towards the speaker, as opposed to away from the speaker. So it's kind of like if you wanted to make an echo in a tunnel, you want to speak into the tunnel. That's the same thing with the bow on the string. So I'd like to work a little bit on this bow tilt, and I have an exercise that could help us feel that a little bit differently in the hand. So Geneve, you can take your bow and get nice and close to the camera like this. So we can start, I'm sure that some of these you've done before, but can we start with some, I call these windshield wipers. Do you call these windshield wipers? Yes. So let's start with some windshield wipers. Really nice job. Okay, let's go back to the hair going down towards the floor. And let's move in a little bit closer still. And now I'd like to roll the bow stick in the fingertips. Yes. Very good. So I see lots of nice movement with your fingers, your two middle fingers, so your middle finger and your ring finger. And your index finger, it looks kind of lonely out there by itself. So can we adjust that just a little bit? It looks a little bit far from the hand. Yes. Can we bring it a little bit closer? And let's see what that changes. Let's do a few more windshield wipers. Let's stop once with the hair in the air. Good. And let's check our thumbs. Can you tell me, how's your thumb looking?
It's bent.
It's bent. That's a good thing. Okay, let's do a few more windshield wipers. Okay. Good. And bring it back to rolling the bow. So now that we've warmed up the sensations in our fingers and our fingertips, let's take the violin And let's just do some open strings. Perhaps we could do half notes on the D string, just trying to get the most resonance, the most beautiful open sound out of the violin. Can you do half notes? Let's do 4 half notes on the D string, using the whole bow. Like this. Very good. Wonderful. Now, next step. Have you ever tried playing a piece open strings only?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's completely fine. We can try it right now. So just a message to our viewers. Playing a piece open strings only is a great way to focus on bow technique and sound. So basically, Geneve, we're going to try playing this piece with the correct bowings and the correct rhythm from the beginning with no left hand fingers. Okay, so it's going to sound, you can imagine how it will sound. It's going to sound something like this. And I just played until the end of the middle of measure 4, if you can believe it. So can we try that? Playing open strings with the correct rhythm and the correct bowings. There's kind of 2 levels to this. You can start by playing just on one open string if that feels the best. And then once that feels good, we can go on to moving to the correct strings in the rhythm. So let's just try it on one string for now. Let's just pick just the D string. Let's start again. The beginning was quite good, and then I think we got lost in the middle of measure 2. Let's try it again. You can sing the song in your head. I'm singing it as I'm listening to you, just to make sure we've got the correct rhythm. Let's try it again. Thank you. How about we go just until where it's written mezzo forte, because that's working quite well already. So let's do it one more time. And this time I'd like for you to listen to the quality of sound that you're making and pay attention to the tilt of the bow. Okay? So we're playing open strings and listening to how's it sounding. And after, I'd like for you to use a few words to describe what you heard. Okay? All right. So, what can you describe this sound?
I heard the song.
Okay. Let's talk about sound quality. Let's say I gave you 3 different options. Crystal clear, slightly, I don't know why, but the weather analogy is coming to me because it's been extremely rainy and cloudy here in France lately. Maybe in Vancouver you guys get some rain there as well, as I understood. Let's talk about, is it clear and beautiful clear skies, a few sun and clouds, slightly grainy sound, or is it raining and cloud cover? Is it very, very cloudy sound? So is it sounding like this? A little bit like this? Or more like this. Let's listen to you play it once more, and then let's see if you can describe your sound for us. So pay very close attention. Okay.
It's slightly rainy and sunny.
Yeah, I agree. It's slightly rainy. Now, can we make it crystal clear by tilting the bow hair just a little bit towards yourself? And let's hear. Let's hear if it makes a difference and brings the sun out. Much better. Okay, can we put the left hand back in the mix now that we've talked about the bow, and keep the ear on the sound quality? Let's keep it crystal clear. From the beginning, I'll have you play until the end of the A section. Keeping our eyes on the bow. Yes. Good. Thank you, Geneve. I really appreciate what you just played, because I think, and we'll see what our at-home audience has to say at the end, but I found that I could really hear the moments when you went a little bit more flatter hair or towards yourself, and the moments where it came away, but I could hear that you were working on it, and that is key. So the change is starting. I would suggest that you try working on the whole piece with open strings only, and then putting the left hand back in, because it helps us focus on the sound without the left hand interfering. Does that sound good to you as a practice technique that you could use? Yes, okay, good. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was a little bit further along. Maybe just to put us back in the context, you could play from the second A section. Do you have your music in front of you?
Yes.
Yes. So let's play from the A section that starts in measure 16. And I'll give you a signal when it's time to stop. Okay?
Okay.
Keep going. Thank you. Okay, so I'm wondering, it's possible that your teacher has asked you not to do these yet, and that's completely fine if that's the case, but for future reference, I'm wondering if you could tell me what this little sign is above the do, above the C sharp that you just played. The little squiggly sign. So this is something that you might be working on in future lessons with your teacher, and others who have played this gavotte, who will play this gavotte, might be working on in future lessons. And I'd like to finish our time together on this note. This is an ornament, so it's this one specifically is a mordant. So we're just going to play one note above and one note above the note and come back to the original note, kind of like a mini trill. And it is in brackets, so it's optional, but I would invite you, once you've really solidified your work on your sound, to experiment with these ornaments with the help of your teacher, because it can add a nice little extra touch, kind of like the vibrato you were doing earlier, just a little extra sparkle to your gavotte. So food for thought. So if you have any questions, I will encourage you to keep them in mind and maybe add them in the questions and response. And we'll see you in a little bit. And I think we can move on to Alithea now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alithea. Very good. Thank you very much. So, how do I get your video? I think if I do that again. Oh, okay. I'll leave that like that. Okay, So, Alithea, did you have a listen to the video we just heard?
What?
Were you listening to the video as we played it for you? Did you have a chance to listen to your recording? Yes. So I would like to start with you and your comments on your video. So do you have something in particular that you're really proud of, something that went well in the recording that you did? And second, something that you're still working on or that you're working on with your teacher in your weekly lessons? I'd like to hear what you have to say. And then I'll give you my comments. So is there something that you were particularly proud of in what you did?
Well, my bow was straighter, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on the second part of humor. I'm working on the second part of humorous, and yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. So that's good to hear your feedback on where you're at with this piece, because when I heard you play it, I was very impressed. So bravo. You did a very nice job. You should feel very proudly. It's a very beautiful rendition of this beautiful piece by Antonin Dvorak. So I think it's already at a very good level for where you're at with your violin playing. And I'm glad you brought up the middle section, because in the notes that I took a lot of good notes. I thought that it was really great that you were moving as you were playing, almost as if you were dancing along. It seemed very spontaneous and like you really felt the music, especially in the beginning. It looked to me like you liked this piece. Your vibrato and third position are starting to work really well. And I'm not going to talk about it today, but I would encourage you, in consultation with your teacher, to look more into the third position in this piece, because there are places where you could do more third position, and it looks like it's going really well, so it might be a good time to try. But aside from all of these great things, I did think that the middle section, beginning in measure 25, so the part in D minor, could be a focal point for our work today. And then maybe at the end, with just a minute or two left, we'll talk a little bit about the meaning of leggero, okay? But let's start again at measure 25. So we have this piece, humoresque, with two contrasting sections, right? The beginning, which is beautiful and light and dance-like, and then the ending that is the same, and then this middle section, the core of the piece. It's quite contrasting. Let's try to play it again, Alithea, just from measure 25. As you're playing, I would like you to imagine a story or some sort of character that you might give to this. It might be a feeling or an emotion. I don't want to say too much because everybody can be quite different about their own feelings about the music, but I'd like for you to play it until the end of the line, and then give me a couple of ideas of what you're feeling or thinking about the music in this place. Okay, do you understand? Okay, let's play for measure 25. Thank you. Okay, great. So did you have any characters or emotions, any feelings that came to mind as you were playing this part?
Not really.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a choice now, and I'd like for you to play it again before you answer. And everybody at home can be thinking about this too. Happy or sad? Play it again, and then let's hear your answer. Happy or sad?
Sad.
I agree. So sad. Do you know what a minor key means?
Yes, it's well, a minor key. A minor key means it's sad.
A minor key means it's sad. Very good, Alithea. In this piece, a minor key means F natural, C natural, and B flat. So we have some sharps and flats that are changing. That gives us this sad, mournful quality. And, as violinists, it's really important to think about these kinds of things because as performers, we receive a piece of music, 2 pages of notes written a very long time ago that we need to translate with our instruments into something that's enjoyable and meaningful to listen to. So my next question is, now that we have decided this is a sad part of the piece, how can we make that more evident in the way that we're playing? Because, as I said, I very much enjoyed your beginning because you have a very joyful way of moving, and I think it's very fitting to this light and joyful beginning. The way you're moving. But in the middle part, is it still or is it something else?
Something else.
I think it's something else. So maybe here in your stage presence, you could plant your feet into the ground, and everybody can stand up and try this at home too. And I would like for you to imagine as if your feet are the roots of a tree going really, really deep into the earth. Deep, deep, deep roots, much below the basement of your building or your house, even below the concrete of the sewage system of Vancouver. Deep, deep, deep into the earth until it reaches, I don't know, groundwater. And the rest of your body is a trunk of a tree. So it's very solid, very strong and stable. It's not tense. It's very strong and static. Think about a tree moving in the wind, Alithea. Does a tree go like this? No, the tree would break right away. The tree, its branches just move a little bit. So think about being a very strong, very rooted tree and play from the center of your body as if the center of gravity was really low. You're very stable. So what I mean concretely by that is maybe you could move a little less and play into the string a little bit more to get a nice, deep, sad sound. Can we try that? So get your tree roots planted, and we're going to try and move less, as if there's less wind in the trees and more roots in the ground. Bravo. That was excellent. Even over Zoom, I don't know how many thousands of kilometers away, I could really hear a difference. Your sound was much more rich and deep and contrasting to the beginning. That's what we're looking for here. And it was also much louder, which is good because this is our forte. One of the biggest forte sections of the piece is right here. So that was very good. And as I mentioned before, there are places in this piece where third position would be an interesting thing to do. Have you tried third position in measure 25?
No.
Not yet. We're not going to try it now. I'm just planting the seed as a possibility because it will sound even more rich when you move to the G string, and that's where we would be in third position in this section. But you can try that after the masterclass. So just with the time that we have left, because we only have 1 or 2 minutes left, I'd like to go back to the beginning. And I have a question for you, Alithea. Do you know what leggero means? Do you know where leggero is written? Can you see? Which measure is leggero written in?
Measure 37.
Measure 37. Oh, are you looking at measure 41?
Yeah, measure 41.
Yeah. Measure 41 and also in measure 1. So what does that word mean? Do you know what language it's in? Oh, sorry, that's my 1 minute warning. Do you know what language leggero is in? Let me say it with feeling. Leggero.
It means French and vibrato.
Oh, I wish. That would be cool. It's Italian for lightly. Lightly. So, it's something to think about. That's okay. That was a good guess. It's another one of the romantic languages, as we say. So at the beginning, I think that you're doing quite a good job with this already, but I would like to bring that out again, the difference in character, leggero. And this is quite an advanced technique, but you might think about someday working on lifting the bow after each note or after each group of notes to give it more of a leggero feeling. But unfortunately, I think we're out of time, so I'm going to leave you with that to think over and to ask your teacher about in your next lessons. Okay? Good job, Alithea. Thank you for being brave and trying new things today. And I think we're ready to move on to Isaac.
Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac. Bravo. How do you feel about how that went?
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. It went pretty well. What specifically went well for you? What aspects of your playing where you're like, yeah, that worked. I'm proud of that. or what parts of the piece?
Probably like measure 25. That PR. I don't remember what it's
The trill? The TR? The trill? Yeah, that went really well. That was good. That was a great ornament. Good. Yeah, a lot of things went really well. I loved the general feel and character, especially in the first gavotte, so page 20. I thought your attention to detail was very good. So your use of short staccato notes when the composer asked for short staccato notes, your use of the petite note, the grace note, was really nice and rhythmic, very joyful and beautiful playing. In the gavotte number 2, I felt like maybe I could be of help to you, making the attention to articulation just as detailed as in the first gavotte. So let's talk about articulation. What does that mean to you, articulation? Or could you give me some examples of articulation? Pardon me?
Forte.
Forte. Oh, forte is a great example of a dynamic. But articulation, when I say articulation, I'm talking about accents, staccato, legato. So I'm sure you know what I mean. Those are the 3 ones that I see in here, but there are others like tenuto, even different. Oh, I actually do see some tenuto in here, tenuti. So lots of different kinds of articulations. So how does the gavotte number 2 start off in terms of articulation?
It starts out loud and then it goes to piano.
Yes, and it starts out with accents. Da 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 ba da dum ba da dum bum. Da 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 da. So in addition to having this huge contrast in dynamics, like you said, forte, fortissimo, and piano, we also have accents followed by staccato. So can we start by just working on the part with accents? Do you see the accents?
Yeah.
What shape? Yes, they're these things, right? The mini decrescendos, I guess we could say. So we just hear those first 2 measures with accents on every first note of the motive. Yes, very good. Let's skip now. Where else can you find accents in this second page? Measure
4.
Measure 4. Let's hear measure 4. Yes, let's make sure all of the accents are the same. Sometimes I hear I don't think that's the idea here. All of them should be just as strong. Good. Okay, let's skip. Where's the next part that has accents? What measure?
Measure 10.
Let's hear measure 10. Yes. Why do you think the accent in measure 11 sounded less accented than the accent in measure 10?
I didn't pay enough attention on that note.
Oh, I think you were paying lots of attention. Actually, I'm not speaking directly about you, but for all violinists, this is a tricky spot because we're starting an accent on an up bow, and quite naturally, it's not your fault. Up bows are weaker than down bows because the bow is lighter and we're further away from the heavy arm and the heavy hand. So if we could say maybe that all up bow accents need more energy, more bow speed, a little bit more pressure or attack, I think it'll make all the difference. We want them to sound the same. I want to be able to close my eyes, knowing that there are accents here and not knowing whether it's an up bow or a down bow. Okay? So can we try it again from, what was that, measure 10? And give a little bit of extra energy on that measure 11 accent. Awesome. You got it. Okay, let's skip. Is there any other place with an accent on this page?
No.
No. So that's very good. I'd like for you to store that in your memory. We're going to go through the second page in just a few minutes. That's how we need the accents to sound. Okay? Now we're going to move on to the staccati. So what does staccato mean?
Like.
You can show me. Show me. Yes, show us what staccato means. Excellent. So short. And in French, sometimes we even say dry, sec. So I would like for your staccati to contrast by being very dry and short. So let's try from the first part that we see staccato. What measure is that in? Pardon me? Yes. Let's try it from measure 2. Thank you. So let's slow it down just a little bit to make sure each one is the same. Sometimes with the string crossing, we hear a few legato notes. I don't think that's your intention. So let's go bum, 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 bum. Each staccato note has a silent beginning and a silent ending. So the bow has to stop on each side of the note. So let's go very slowly to control those stops. Excellent. Let's do it. Let's practice it once more, just like that. That was very good practicing. As short and as dry as you can make them. Bup, bup, bup. Let's go once more. Up. That last D in measure 2, let's make sure that the bow arrives back on the A string before we attack the note. So I think the string crossing could be a little bit more quick. Excellent. That's great. Now what's our tempo here? On peut essayer. Sorry, French again. Could we try it like that? Yes. And measure 4. Go back to legato as you did at the slow tempo. Once more. Good. So do you have a pencil handy, Isaac?
Yeah.
Yes, if you don't, that's okay. Just if you have one handy. How about you take your pencil and just circle the F sharp D at the end of measure 2 as a place that you could go back to and practice slowly for this tricky string crossing with staccati. Just circle those 2 notes. And sometimes I like to abbreviate things like string crossing. You could write SC. Okay, where is the next passage where we have lots of staccati notes?
Starting from measure 14.
Okay, let's go to measure 14. Actually, could we go from measure 12? Because this is an interesting place to work on quick changes from legato. to staccato. And then we'll continue into your passage that you mentioned right to the end of the line. Okay, good job. Measure 12, and these three kind of stages. I'd like for the staccato notes to be something that helps with the direction of the phrase rather than hinders. So think about each staccato note having a little arrow forward inside of it to really, as if they were an upbeat. And how are we going to make them like that? By making them extra short. So let's slow down the tempo again and kind of examine with our magnifying glass these staccato notes. Okay. Excellent attention to detail, Isaac. Now let's make sure that they're nice and steady in the same tempo. Da, 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 ba, ba, da, da. How does that sound to you? Good tempo for practicing? Okay, let's try it at that tempo. Okay, let's just practice that again. We're going towards something very, very good. So let's try it once more. Good, very good. Let's speed it up and go to the end of the line. So what's a little bit closer to our final tempo? Very good. So just to kind of de-zoom for a second, sorry, there's my timer again, in the last minute. What we're working on here, Isaac, was picking out different parts of the page that had similar articulation and making them sound consistently the same, and then putting them back together, one next to another, kind of putting them back into context and making sure that the contrast is still there. So could we, just to finish off our time together, could we listen to you play now the first part of page 2 of this gavotte, number 2? With, yes, so from gavotte number 2 until the repeat sign. Thank you very much. Beautiful job. So keep working on articulation. I think it will help bring what is already an excellent performance to the next level by giving a little more attention to detail on this second page. Good job. And now
Ah,
Hello, Isabel. Can you hear me all right?
yes.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for this final performance of the afternoon. Wonderful.
Thank
So, yes, just I'd like to begin with a little conversation, if you will, about this piece. So, Kuchler or Ferdinand Kuchler, do you know anything about this composer?
Not really.
Okay, and what about the composer for whom it was written in the style of, if we could say it like that, Antonio Vivaldi?
He was from Italy, is it?
Yes, absolutely. And what time period of musical history?
Baroque?
Yes, very good. So Kuchler was a violin teacher from Germany living in the 19th century. So the dawn of pedagogical works, so pieces to help us learn how to play the instrument better. And he decided to write a piece in the style of Antonio Vivaldi. So I'd like to talk just a little bit about why a teacher or teacher slash composer might decide to write a piece in the style of Vivaldi and not, I don't know, any other Baroque composer that you might think of. So Vivaldi, he was known for many things, but when I think of Vivaldi, I like to think of fast playing and lots of repetition. If you think about the Four Seasons, for example, or any of his violin concertos for 1, 2, 3, 4 violins, he wrote a ton of music, and it's very repetitive and often, especially the fast movements, very fast, very virtuosic.
Yeah.
So I think that Kuchler was trying to use some of the things that Vivaldi used as a composer to help us learn certain aspects of violin playing, if that makes sense to you, almost like a study. So this concertino in D major that you're already doing a really good job of, I'd like for you to think of going forward, if you will, how can I benefit from this as a study of Vivaldi's music and of violin playing in general? So a few parts that I think we could work on in particular would be tempo, because for the moment we're slightly under tempo for what's smart, and that is normal. You're probably in progress on this piece, but let's speak about how to prepare best for playing quickly. And so that's in general. And then specifically when we come to the passage at measure 49,
49, okay.
with these string crossings. And there's one kind of general theme that I'd like to cover in terms of preparing to play quickly. It's around bow distribution and saving bow. Because in general, Isabel, I think what you're doing with the bow in terms of amounts of bow used, lengths of bow, works very well for this tempo. But when you're going to play it at the quarter note equals 92, I think it's going to, well, have you tried?
I
Before I
have.
jump to conclusions. You have, and how did it go?
Questionably.
Okay. I'm not surprised because, first of all, that's tricky. But in specific, because the amounts of bow that you're practicing with serve this tempo, and they do not serve 92, if that makes sense. So it means practicing with a bow that's quite concentrated and short for a tempo in the objective of going faster someday. So how about we put this into practice right away? Let's take it from the top. So this is, I have my metronome here. Let's listen to 92. We're not going to play it 92 right away, don't worry. But let's just listen to 92. We're not far off. So can you start it again at your tempo? Just once for us, play it as you did in the video. And we'll, how about we stop at the end of the first miniature phrase, at the end of measure 2. Okay, thank you. And can we jump to measure 7 now? Same tempo. Excellent. Okay, that's already much better. Let's try it from the beginning at tempo. Dun, 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 da, da, dun, da, da, dum, bum. Okay, not bad. We're not far. So I don't think it's a catastrophe by any means. We definitely should be working towards this tempo. So as I was saying earlier, shortening of the bow or saving, well, it's not really saving of the bow, but it's just making better use of the bow in terms of length. In these eighth notes that come back all throughout these repetitive eighth notes in the style of Vivaldi, could we think about them as one thing as opposed to 4 separate things? So I'll sing what I mean. La re 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 da da dum ba da dum bum 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 ba dum bum 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 ba da dum bum bum da da yum bum bum. So thinking about kind of launching the beat, and then the next rendezvous is on the 3rd beat, and in between the 1st and the 3rd beat, we're just kind of coasting. And kind of swinging off of the 1st and the 3rd beat. So a little bit shorter bows on those eighth notes. Can we try that? Yes, I'm going to play a little bit just to demonstrate. So instead of sustaining through each note, which is very beautiful, maybe just a little bit lighter on the 3 eighth notes that follow the 1st. Can we try it like that? Yes, okay, not bad at all. So within that lightness, there's also a direction. So for example, la re 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 dum ba dum dun 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 la va. Think about a little bit more direction towards the 3rd beat once you release. So it's light, but it's also always going somewhere. Maybe we could try it just a little bit more towards the middle of the bow as opposed to towards the tip. Great. Those eighth notes are sounding better now, much lighter and with more direction. Can we do the same thing to the second half of each measure now? So thinking about the 16th notes, a little bit lighter and with direction towards the next eighth. Within the bow, you could think long, short, short, long, short, short, long. Again, with, you know, a long bow is not an entire bow, but maybe an eighth of a bow. Good. And to make sure that the eighth notes are the same length, I'd like for you to actually give a little bit more bow on that second eighth note, so the last eighth note of the measure. Play da 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 dum. A little bit more on the A here. Good. So let's go back to the beginning of the piece and play until the end of measure 4. Good. Thank you, Isabel. So we went down a bit of a rabbit hole there talking about bow distribution, but I think it's worth thinking about or rethinking with your teacher in this concertino. How are you going to get to that next level of speed? And I think it's going to help you to think about bow lengths and bow places. So maybe going a little bit more towards the middle and economizing, that's not a real word in English, saving the bow as much as you can to make sure that you're really compact and always thinking about the direction. I think that really helped you when you were thinking about the first and the third beats versus each of the 4 beats. So I just have 2 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about measure 49.
Okay.
So this is a technique that I spoke about with one of your colleagues earlier this evening. Have you worked on this right hand only?
I don't think so.
Okay, so let's try it very quickly right now just to give you an idea what I mean. So measure 49, let's go directly on to the without the pickup. And let's try it separate bows just to figure it out. Right hand only. So the first measure would be. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, let's try it. Right hand only. And the fourth beat. Good. Now let's try it with the slurs. Yes, very good. So this is the exercise. I think that you could apply this to the whole passage because, and I'm sure some of our other listeners are noticing this, and you might have noticed this too. When you played it separate bows, you had a very nice rhythmic integrity. So it didn't slow down because you were concentrating on each individual 16th note. When you added in the slurs, we lost a lot of time on the first 16th note. So working with détaché and then slurred, and working only with the right hand, really focusing in on that. It's not the left hand that's the problem here. I think it's the right hand that's going to help propel you forward into the final tempo of 92. All right. Very good work. And bravo again for a wonderful performance of this beautiful piece. So I think now, if I'm not mistaken, we have a few minutes for questions.
Thank you, Audrey. That was amazing. I learned so much in an hour and a half, and I'm definitely going to take some of those techniques for my own practice and also to share with my students. So thank you so much, Audrey.
And bravo for a wonderful preparation. Everybody did really well, and that's also thanks to their amazing teacher. So a lot of really great work going on in Vancouver.
Great.
Awesome.
So I haven't received too many questions. So while I ask my own questions for you, attendees, you can definitely send in your questions through the Q&A. Anna, do you have anything to add?
Alvin, yes, there was one question that I tried to answer
Yes.
When Audrey was showing the bow technique for the violin bow, and I believe Caitlin's mommy or Caitlin asked, "Can you do the same technique, the windshield technique, with the cello bow?"
So I am going to say yes. I think that this could, I've never tried because I'm not a cellist, but I would say that it would be beneficial also for cellists because what we're working on with the windshield wiper is the mobility of this rotation in the forearm and having a stable bow hold in all 180 degrees of the windshield wiper. So I would say yes, but ask your teacher as well.
Okay, good answer. Yeah, awesome. Is the cello bow heavier than violin bow?
Yes, I think it is. It's also shorter. And
Mm-hmm.
the only main difference, as I understanding it, is that the pinky finger is not placed the same, which is why I'm giving a tentative yes.
Okay.
Because another great way benefit of the windshield wipers is strengthening the pinky finger when it comes
Mm.
back around. But I'm sure it would be great for cellists too. I don't think it could do any harm.
Awesome. Oh, okay. Alithea Lee, can you explain more on articulation?
Yes, Alithea, absolutely. So, Alithea, can we have her back here? I'd just like to ask a question about her question. If
Yeah.
not, oh, hi, Alithea.
Alithea?
So you wanted to know more about articulation. Could you explain to me specifically what you're curious about?
Well, when you were talking to, I think about articulation. Mm, It, I'm not pretty sure what it means.
Oh,
Okay, so let's review together. So we were speaking about articulation in terms of the gavotte in D major. So when we're looking at a piece of music, there are all sorts of different kinds of information on the page. The notes, the rhythm, the bowings, the dynamics, but also articulation. So for example, in this gavotte, I don't know if you guys can see it all right. On this first line, we were working on bringing out these accents, these sort of mini decrescendos, which mean stronger on the beginning of the note. And then, for example, here, the dots above the notes, which mean shorter, which I'm sure all of you know already. Articulation is just a word that means accents, shorts and longs, legato, staccato, etc. It's one word that means all of those things, kind of like dynamics means fortes, pianos, mezzo fortes, etc. Does that help you understand a little bit better?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Great question.
I have a question, Audrey.
Yes.
How has the pandemic affected you personally? Because I know it's affected everyone a bit differently. You're in France. What's it like over there right now?
So we are in a second strict lockdown in France right now. So I was very fortunate to have this opportunity to work with your students today. It was really quite amazing. Um, the lockdown in France has been, I think, in many ways similar to the one in Canada, with the exception, I think, maybe that we had this wonderful grace period in September and October where a lot of the concerts that were canceled were reprogrammed. And it seems like they're really doing everything they can to help artists out in this difficult time. So, in this second lockdown, musicians are part of the exception group that can still meet and rehearse, of course, respecting all of the masking and social distancing requirements. But I would say it's a tough time, like it is for everybody around the world. But at the same time, I'm really glad that, in some ways, I'm glad for the lockdown with my students because they have lots of time to practice. I've been seeing some great improvement. And I'm learning a lot of new things, like how to do a Zoom masterclass. This was a first for me, but I'm definitely going to be stealing the idea and using it. So perhaps we'll be seeing you on the flip side sometime soon. I think this is a
I'll have to
great
brush up
idea.
on my French skills.
Yes, absolutely. Or us on our English skills over here. So yeah, some goods and some bads, but lots of opportunity to learn. And I've been playing lots of Bach.
Great.
Yes.
Wonderful. I think I'm going to start to sign off the meeting. But before we finish for today, I want to express our collective thank yous to Audrey. Audrey, you were amazing, patient, eloquent, kind, knowledgeable, and I wish someday when the pandemic will be over, we organize a trip. Maybe you'll be in France, maybe you'll be somewhere else, but I'd like to meet, and I'm sure our students would love that too. And I created little certificates for everybody to commemorate our first event, and a certificate of
Wonderful.
appreciation to you, Audrey, and all of the students will receive it. So
Wonderful.
thank you very much to you, and also to Alvin, who brought you here, and we're very, very happy to have you. Alvin, I think he has something to say about our next event. Audrey, thank you. It was nice to meet you.
Thank
Yes,
you. And
so
I'm honored to have been invited. Sorry, Alvin. Just thank you once again. It was an honor to work with all of the students. And as I said, inspiring new idea for such a particular time. So thank you very much. And yes, I would love to meet you all in person someday very soon.
Thank you, Audrey. So this is our first guest masterclass part of our series. Our next one will be on November 29th, 2 weeks from today. And it'll start at 4 o'clock Pacific. And it's with a colleague of mine, Bosun Mo. And I think, Audrey, you might actually know him. He went to CIM for a brief time. He's based in Houston. He plays with the Houston Symphony, is also international soloist. He's participated in Tchaikovsky competition and has won at the a prize at the Michael Hill in New Zealand competition. So fantastic, knowledgeable, and talented resource for us to have. And we'll have 3 students playing some more intermediate, advanced works. So we have works by Eccles, Haydn G Major Concerto, and Mozart G Major Concerto. So feel free to tune in 2 weeks' time. And I guess, Anna, you'll post all the information on the Facebook.
Yes, I will post it on Facebook. Actually, everyone, don't sign off right now. I'm going to play a screen share for 5 minutes of more information. So I'll do Facebook, YouTube, Zoom, emails, everything. All of the platforms are going to be covered. Okay. So once again, thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Alvin. I'm screen sharing right now the event that we will be hosting. Thank you. Bye, everyone.